Hey everybody, Jeff Reinhart here, LMP and Lancaster Online. Welcome in to the Week 12 edition of the Huddle. It's the LL Football Podcast, sponsored by Auto House of Lancaster. Pull up a chair. 14 LL League football teams still alive in the District 3 playoffs. 12 games this week, 11 on Friday night, 1 Saturday afternoon matinee to cap it. Bunch of teams back after byes last week. Couple of teams back after wins last week. A lot going on. Couple of 1 seeds get back on the field this week. There's a championship game in 2A. Semifinals in a couple of brackets. Quarterfinals in other brackets. So a lot going on. A lot of rematches. A lot of familiar faces and names squaring off this week. Looking to punch their tickets to another round. Week 12, let's break it down. A lot of notables. I will give you the caveat of the non-LL teams. I crammed, did my homework, did the best I could with names and stats, notes, etc. A lot going on and a lot of teams to study up on, so I did my best. Let's break them down, give you some picks. Picks were really tough this week because it's, as I wrote, it's a nitty-gritty time here in the playoffs, and we're down to the better teams, best teams, higher-seeded teams. So some of these games were tough to prognosticate, I must say, but I will do my best. And here we go. Week 12, District 3 playoffs, 6A, Friday night. If it sounds familiar, it should. Cumberland Valley at Manheim Township. These guys play like every year. This is the third year in a row that they'll play in districts. They've played the last 3 years in a row in non-league games. This is the fifth time in 8 years that they'll play in districts. Township is 6-1 against Cumberland Valley in their last 7 meetings. They beat them earlier this season in week 1, 42-14. Declan Clancy had 3 touchdowns. Streaks got off to the fast start. Cumberland Valley beat an LL last week, beat Governor Mifflin in the first round, put up 44 points. Name to know. Eric Barbacci rushed for 179 and 2 touchdowns for the Eagles last week. They have a freshman quarterback playing, Stammy, 9th grader, and he's passed for over 500 yards in the last 2 games. So Cumberland Valley's been multi-purpose attack here. They've gone up top. They've run it with Barbacci. Township back for the first time since the Wilson game in week 10. Licking some wounds here for 2 weeks. I'm thinking they'll be plenty fired up here to get back at it after the loss. And they see a very familiar face here that they see a lot, including 2 times a year for the last 3 years. I have the streaks circled on the pink card this week. I'm going to go Township at home. Like I said, they're 6-1 in the last 7 against Cumberland Valley. Already beat them once. Should be plenty motivated and spitting plenty of fire for this one. Township over Cumberland Valley. Cedar Crest at Wilson rematch. Section 1 foes in West Lawn on Friday night. Wilson's toughest Section 1 game this year was Cedar Crest. 14-7 Bulldogs back around midseason. And that's right when Wilson was really like taking off, coming off the Nazareth loss. And they really were picking up speed there. Played really well defensively. Gruber had 2 touchdown passes to Cam Zullinger in that game. Wilson had a big goal line stand, kept Crest out, held them to 7. Crest coming off a win over Hempfield last week. It's the Section 1 pod of the 6A bracket. Crest playing well. A lot of funky numbers. Isaiah Zimmerman's been great. He had 5 touchdown runs last week against Hempfield, 5. Jackson Custer's been really good and really efficient and really dual threat QB guy here last couple of weeks. I have Wilson circled. Bulldogs already beat them once. They've won 7 in a row, including the Township win, and they have found their defense when they have needed it. Bulldogs over Falcons. 5A, 4 quarterfinal games. There's one LL team in each quarterfinal. How's that in 5A? Pretty good. All these games are Friday night. Exeter, Eagles, 10 wins. At New Oxford, Colonials, number 1 seed, undefeated 10-0. Having a great year. I think I read this, first 10-0 regular season in program history. They beat Cocalico this year. They beat Warwick this year. Exeter, as mentioned, 10 wins. Jaden Zandier's been, 1,600 plus on the ground. They put up 56 in the first round against Southwestern last week. So Exeter has a ton of mo, and they're fired up after that Conestoga Valley game. Let's be honest. That Stoke Day fire lit a fire under Exeter here, so they're playing like it. I have Exeter circled. The 8 seed Eagles going on the road to get the 1 seed New Oxford. But I love the way Exeter's going. Their offense has been great. Their defense has been stingy, only gave up a field goal to the Mustangs last week. And I think Exeter can spring one here and make a mess of this bracket. Eagles over Colonials. Upset special. Shippensburg Greyhounds at Conestoga Valley. Buckskins back on the field. Had a bye week last week. 10-0. First time since 1985. A lot of crooked numbers for CV. Sawyer Espenshade. I probably don't talk about him enough. 1,800-yard passer. 24 touchdowns. 3 picks. That's efficient. They've had 14 or 15 kids get carries out of the backfield. Another 10 or 12 that have catches. Bucks have a lot of weapons. They get a Shippensburg team playing well, only 1 loss, and that was to Mechanicsburg, which I'll get to in a minute, and that was in week 10. So Ship won its playoff opener, beat Warwick last week. Greyhounds feature Jonye Statham. Hope I'm saying his first name right. He rushed for 130 and 2 touchdowns last week. So they have a good back that CV will have to wrap and tackle. Like the Bucks, don't like the rust. Do not like that bye week in football. That always worries me for some reason. Not that they forget how to play football, but 2 weeks without playing is kind of a long time. So you're so used to playing every Friday, and then you don't play for 2 weeks. So we'll see. A couple of teams here got to shake that off. But I like the Bucks here. I'll go home team. I'll see you in Whitmer on Friday night. CV over Shippensburg. Cocalico at Mechanicsburg. Mention the Wildcats. They're playing great. They're having a really good season. 10 wins. They've been tough. Cocalico, back-to-back district champ in this bracket. Good win last week in the first round. Put up 42 against Hershey. Meyer has been great running the ball on keepers. Dane Horning has been really good. Both those guys are over 1,000 rushing yards. Cocalico has not completed a pass since week 4. 7 games in a row without completing a pass, which is just wild. They have 2,300 rushing yards, 300 yards plus a night in the last 7 weeks. So they're getting it done there. I have Mechanicsburg circled. Venerable Veterans Stadium at Memorial Park in Mechanicsburg. Been there a couple times. Cool place to watch a game. I'm going to go Wildcats at home. It's been a great ride for Cocalico, 2+ years here. They've been really good in this bracket. Can they win here? Yes. But I'm just feeling Mechanicsburg here for whatever reason. 10 wins at home. I don't think Cocalico is not going to ever lose a game ever again in District 3 5A. So I'll go Wildcats here. Mechanicsburg over Cocalico. Last game, 5A. Bishop McD, hello, at Conrad Weiser. Scouts back on the field after a week off. 10-0. First time since 96. Outright Section 3 champs. Having a dream season. You get the bye. You're the 3 seed. And you get Bishop McDevitt in your first district playoff game. Somebody had to play them. Crusaders are really good. 3 4A titles in a row, 17 district championships, one more to tie Mannheim Central for the most in district history with 18. Stone Saunders, quarterback for McDevitt, 12,000 passing yards and 190 touchdowns in his career, most in state history. Yeah, they're good. It's McDevitt. Been here, done that in any of these district brackets. I think they're 66-9 in District 3 playoff games dating back to 1981. That's pretty good. I have McDevitt circled. Love what Weiser's done, especially kind of shorthanded the last couple of weeks playing with multiple injured guys. But McDevitt's kind of a different animal here. I know they got to go on the road, but that never phases them at all. They'll be ready to play. Great ride, Weiser. Fantastic ride, Weiser. Could certainly spring one here. They'll have to play an A+ game. Pick purposes, McDevitt over the Scouts. 4A Friday night. 2 4A games on Friday night. Elko at LS. Rematch. Section 4 rivals. They met not all that long ago. Week 8, week 7. It was in October. LS won that game 52-7 in Myerstown. But it was close for a while. I think LS had a couple of pick sixes in that game. House took one back. Weichler took one back. It kind of got away from Elko, like second half-ish range. But it was close for a while. Raiders hung tough. Elko feeling good. Beat Octorara last week in the first round, 31-6. This is a familiar playoff matchup. These guys have met 3 times in districts. I think it was in a row, 18, 19, 20. LS won all 3, including the title game in 2020 at LS, 20-3. Pioneers, wow. 10-0, scorching, number 3 in the state. They're the 1 seed in this bracket. Saw the YO game in week 10. Their defense was edgy and rugged and just really gnarly and good. House, 1,000-yard passer, 1,000-yard rusher. Brown has 1,000 yards rushing. Fun numbers all over the place for LS. Elko's going to have to hog the ball here. Mitchell Frederick's been pretty good. He had an injury earlier in the season. He's been tough since he's been back. A couple of 100-yard nights. Tall task for Elko. But I never go against the Raiders. They will play hard. They will be ready to play. They will be prepared. And they will be ready to go when they touch down in Lampeter. But I'll go Pioneers here for pick purposes. They've been fantastic. LS over Elko. We were at Elko this week for the video show. Stay tuned for those interviews coming up later in the week from Myerstown. The other 4A game on Friday, Twin Valley at Susquehanna Township. Twin Valley back on the field. This game was already set up, but both teams had a bye week the way the bracket was set up. So neither of them had a first round game, but they're not playing their quarterfinal until this weekend. So everybody lines up. Twin Valley got back on track in week 10, beat Daniel Boone after back-to-back kind of crusher losses to YO and especially to LS, giving up 62. So anxious to see how Twin Valley kind of responds here. Big game on the road behind enemy lines in Harrisburg against a really good Hannah team, which features Torrin Evans, quarterback, 2,300 plus passing yards, and Lex Cyrus, wide receiver who's going to South Carolina, sprint champ, PIAA 100 sprint champ, tons of speed, a lot of athletes for Hannah, and they're beefy up front. So's Twin Valley. But this Hannah crew is blocked really well for Evans, who's having a great year throwing the ball up top. I have Susquehanna Township circled. If Twin Valley plays like they play earlier in the season, when they were housing and trucking everybody, Raiders could win. Absolutely. They have the personnel to do it. But for pick purposes, I'm going to go Hannah. They had to forfeit a game because they had an ineligible player in there, and it was a game they won, but they had to forfeit it. So they're 9-1 on the field, and they're playing really good. And they had a really good schedule. Not that Twin Valley didn't, but Hannah's won 6 or 7 in a row, and they're playing really good. So I'll go Hannah over Twin Valley. 3A Friday night. Semifinals in this bracket. 2 LL teams in, both Berks County. First up, Schuylkill Valley at Trinity Shamrocks. Schuylkill Valley, 8 wins in a row, beat Catholic in Week 10 to wrap up a Section 5 title outright. Logan Narwaki. It's a fun name to say. What a year he's having. 2,400 plus passing yards, 34 touchdowns. He needs 16 passing yards on Friday to join the 5,000-yard passing club. Evan Myers at Twin Valley joined that club earlier this year. Narwaki would be the 6th Berks kid to do it and the 33rd LL kid to do it. That's a pretty cool milestone. Trinity, 3rd final in a row. The other ones were in 2A, won it in 2022, beat Anvil Cleona, I believe, in that game. Lost last year, but 3 finals in a row for Trinity. A lot of weapons. Christian Joy averages 10 yards a carry. That's pretty good. And just a lot of balance for Trinity. And again, they've played a really good schedule in the Mid-Penn. And they know their way around a district bracket, and they get a home game at Cobo. I have Trinity circled. Love what Schuylkill Valley has done. And if Narwaki throws for 305 touchdowns, they probably win. But for pick purposes, I'll go Shamrocks at home, Trinity over Schuylkill Valley. Berks Catholic, they've been great at Bermudian Springs Eagles. They're the number 1 seed with just 1 loss. And that was back in Week 1 against New Oxford, the 1 seed in 5A. Berks Catholic, 5 wins in a row. They've really found it. Beat Biglerville last week, put up 48. Zach Susky, the quarterback's been unbelievable. 8 for 8, 238, and 2 touchdowns last week against the Canners. Last 5 games during this winning streak, he's at like 800 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, no picks, completing like 75% of his passes, something crazy. Plus Gumby, plus Rose, plus Gerald. Really like what Berks Catholic is doing, but Bermudian Springs, 1 seed at home. Nothing fancy. I couldn't find a whole lot on Bermudian Springs this week, but they've just kind of found ways to win. No nonsense kind of team. Just the 1 loss, and they're at home, and it looks like they play some pretty good D. Can Berks Catholic win? If Susky goes 8 for 8 with a couple of touchdowns again, and Rose and Gumby run all over the place, sure. But I'll go 1 seed at home here. Bermudian over Berks Catholic. Last Friday night game is a championship game. 2A final. Lancaster Catholic at Steel High. Wow. Rollers. Up in 2A now. They won the last 4 single A championships in a row. District 3. They've won the last 2 state single A championships. Different team. I know they kind of got clocked by graduation. It happens. But testament to them and their program and their pedigree. They're back. Another championship appearance for Steel High. They have 16 championships, which is right behind McDevitt, which is right behind Manheim Central. 16 titles for the Rollers. Like I said, 4 in a row in single A. We'll see how they do with 2A this year. After playing a really good schedule, their losses are Susquehanna Township and Trinity, maybe, who are obviously still playing. Lancaster Catholic, back in a final for the first time since 2011. It's been a while. When we think of Catholic, we think district titles, we think state championships. But first trip since 2011, when they actually went on to win their 2nd state title that fall, remember? 09 and 11, they won state titles. So first time back in a district final since then. I know they have 4 losses, tricky schedule. Hung with Schuylkill Valley in Week 10. Got to mention Brandon Way, 1,700 rushing yards, 26 touchdowns. Seems like he rushes for like 180 and 2 or 3 touchdowns every week. Really does. He's been great. So I'm anxious to see that matchup. Can Steel High's defense slow down Mr. Way? I have the Rollers circled on the pink card this week. And I wrote this in the column. No rhyme or reason. But Steel High has been here. They know the feeling. They know the energy of a championship game. And I think their big game pedigree takes over at some point on Friday. Don't know when. 4th quarter, 1st quarter. But the Rollers have been here a lot lately. So I'm going to go with them for pick purposes. Steel High over Lancaster Catholic. That's a neutral site game. Get yourself to Mount Joy on Friday night. Donegal is hosting. Good job, Donegal, putting up their stadium for Catholic Steel High. Saturday, one game, 4A. It's the other 4A quarterfinal. East Pennsboro, out of the mid-pen, at Wyomissing. I think Wyomissing is going to be a little fired up here because LS in week 10 really took it to them, held them to like 2 or 3 yards a carry. YO just never got going. The stuff up the gut, the trap stuff was not there, and the toss sweeps, LS sniffed out and just played really well. So I think YO probably needed the 2 weeks just to kind of get its heads back on straight, figure some things out. And they get an East Penn team that's good. Here they are. They're in the quarterfinals. Had a win last week. So they have a little mo with a playoff dub coming to town. But they get a YO team that's won 5 district titles in a row, all in 3A. First time up in 4A. And YO kind of sees it now. They see the bracket. They know what's out there. They know that LS and Twin Valley are in the upper bracket. They know all about both of those teams. And the winner here gets a directional York school, East York or West York. So YO knows what's in front of them to get a rematch. Knock on wood, maybe. We'll see how it shakes out with one of their Section 4 brethren. I got YO over East Penn. Week 12 winners. Manheim Township, Wilson, Exeter, Conestoga Valley, Mechanicsburg, Bishop McDevitt, LS, Hannah, Trinity, Bermudian Springs, Steel High, Rollers, and Wyomissing. Catholic games for the 2A title. Enjoy that in Mount Joy. Friday night, I will see you in Whitmer for Shippensburg at Conestoga Valley in a 5A game. We'll be at all these games. We'll have everything covered over the weekend. Full box scores, stats, game stories, photo galleries. I'll get you helmet stickers. And we'll have some teams advance because we have a couple of rematches. So there will be a week 13 in LO football. Okay, enjoy week 12. Good stuff. District 3 playoffs. It's the Huddle LO League Football Podcast brought to you by Auto House of Lancaster. Thank you for your sponsorship this fall. Much obliged. Jeff Reinhart here, LMP and Lancaster Online. Enjoy week 12, gang. I'll catch you back here next week. Thanks.